Powerstroke 7.3 oil change. Let's get it done. Here's some tools you'll need. At least 15 quarts of your favorite diesel oil. I'm using Shell Rotella T4. You'll also need your favorite oil filter. I'm using the Ford Motorcraft FL 1995 filter. You're also going to need a 19mm ratchet or wrench, or a 3/4 inch standard ratchet or wrench. You also need a filter wrench, a large one, or in this case I'm using Channel Lock 460s. If you like to drain your filter ahead of time like I do, you'll need a tapered punch and a hammer. And if you're going to drain the high pressure oil pump reservoir or flush it, you'll need a 13mm or 1/2 inch wrench to get the plastic nuts off for the cover, and then a 3/16 Allen wrench. In this case I'm using a 3/16 socket. Also, you'll obviously need a drain pan that can hold at least 15 quarts, and a good work light doesn't hurt either. First, unscrew this 19mm drain plug with your ratchet, which I've already done, and unscrew it counterclockwise. I like to turn with my thumb and middle finger and hold the drain plug with my index finger. As you get to the last few threads, press in and then pull the plug away in one swift motion so you don't get a ton of oil on your hands, and let it fall. And I got a little bit of oil on my hands, but I still got the plug. Okay, while that's draining underneath, we'll go back up top, and I like to pre-fill my oil filter, and I'll leave it in the box for stability. And the reason I do this is because I don't like to dry start my engine. Some people say this is overkill, but I like to do it anyway. So this FL 1995 filter will take over a quart, and this will help with reducing the startup clatter. So there is a small possibility you could do some damage to your main bearings, your rod bearings, your cam bearings, etc. from a dry start. So this helps with that. Okay, back underneath you can see that the oil is pretty much all drained out. So we're going to hand thread the drain plug back in. If it doesn't feel right, stop immediately and start over. Take a look at the threads if you need to, or replace the plug if you need to. You definitely don't want to strip these threads out on this drain pan, or this oil pan, excuse me. Now I've tightened this down by finger tight until the head of the bolt touches the pan, and then I'm going to turn it about another 1/16 of a turn. You do not need to crank on this. You just need to snug it up. You need to think about snugging it up like 1/16 of a turn, pretty much. That's plenty snug right there. I'll try it one more time. That's plenty tight. Okay, for the filter, you can either spin it off with your wrench now, or you can do like I'm about to do and punch a hole in it first. It helps you control the mess a little bit, and it makes for just a little bit easier change if you're not in a hurry. Okay, let's punch a hole in the bottom of the oil filter, and it'll drain right down into the drain pan. Okay, make sure you have your pan position right. Boom, there you go. And while we're waiting on this to drain, I'll go ahead and add the oil. We don't have to worry about the new oil spilling out everywhere, because obviously we're not running the engine right now. Okay, we're adding our 15 quarts of oil while the oil drains out of the old filter. You don't have to worry about the new oil leaking out, because obviously the engine's not running and the oil pump isn't moving the oil. Okay, now that that's drained, let's go ahead and get that filter off. And admittedly, these are not the best pliers for this job, but this is what I'm working with. It's okay if you crush it a little bit. Okay. So you go ahead and unscrew that counterclockwise. There you go. And draining that oil out really helps a lot with the mess. And you're done. Make sure that this old gasket comes off with the old filter. This is the housing that I was talking about. This is the base that the oil filter mounts to. Make sure that you don't have an old rubber gasket stuck to there. Okay, we're going on with our new oil filter. On the new gasket, make sure that you rub some clean new motor oil on the surface of the new gasket to help it go on smoothly without twisting or pinching. And you want to tighten it down until you get to the base, until it makes contact with the base. Then go ahead and tighten it another half turn or so. Use 2 hands if necessary to make sure that it's good and snug. You shouldn't have to use any type of pliers or anything. That's good and snug. That's not going to leak. And we're done underneath. Now here's where I disagree with a lot of people who say that this high pressure oil pump reservoir does not need to be drained. Watch how much old nasty oil I pull out of this in just a second. But first you want to take these 2 nuts off this cover here. These are 13 millimeter. You can also use 1/2 inch. And the cover comes right off. Just pull straight up. And right there is a 3/16 Allen plug. That's the one that you need to take out. If there's any dirt in there, or if it looks rusty, spray some WD-40 on it. Clean the rust out of the hex head with a pick. You definitely do not want to strip this out. Spraying some PB Blaster on there because I'm not taking any chances with this. Let that sit for a couple minutes. Okay, now we have the plug out. We're ready to suck out the old nasty oil. There's a couple ways you can do this. One is with a simple fluid suction pump like this $10 unit I got from Harbor Freight. But the hose that comes with it is too big to fit down into that hole. You could probably use a piece of 1/4 inch diameter tubing and just use a hose clamp and clamp it. That would work. But since I don't have that, I'm going to be using the Mighty Vac MV 8500 vacuum pump. You don't have to use a tool this fancy. This is just the one that I had at the time. Okay, you fish the hose down into the bottom of the reservoir, and that goes into this little container that holds about 4 ounces. Then there's your Mighty Vac pump. You just set it to vacuum and start squeezing. And for those of you who don't think you need to change your high pressure oil pump oil, just watch this. Look at all that stuff coming out of there. Easily 4 ounces. I'm going to pause and change this out and start over. Look at that. Yes, there is a high pressure oil pump drain, but obviously it doesn't drain that much. There's number 2. Another 4 ounce cup full. That's 8 ounces. Here's number 3. 12 ounces. I haven't even added oil yet. I'm just still draining out all the old stuff. Here's the 4th cup. It's about halfway full, so that's 2 ounces. So that's about 14 ounces. That's almost half a quart of old nasty oil circulating around right by my injectors. So draining the oil alone won't get it. You have to suck it out of the high pressure reservoir. Okay, we'll go ahead and pour about half a quart into the reservoir slowly. I wish they had made this hole bigger. It's hard to find a funnel that'll fit without jamming it in there. And if you want to crank the engine up, let it run a few minutes, suck it back out from here, and then fill it back up again, you can do so. I'm only going to do it one time for the purpose of this video. Okay, we'll tighten our reservoir plug back up. Okay, we're going to put our vanity cover back on. Oh well, it started right up actually. Let's see what our oil pressure is doing. There it is. Light goes out. We're good. Okay, you're done. Check for leaks, clean up, recycle your oil, and that's all there is to it. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.